Hi, my name is John Poole, and this is my research proposal presentation for our interactive assignment. My research proposal is focused on two differing but connecting yet taboo subjects in society. The first portion of it is pretty much looking at the well-being of those that are deemed criminals, sexual offenders, assaulters, those that have committed felonies or bigger level crimes, so to speak. Um, and then it joins secondhand is on the psychological or psychiatric side of it. Could these events have possibly been prevented given the treatment? Again, these are just the two research questions, just more focused, more direct, so that you can tell what the study is actually looking to answer and looking to prove. This is important because in most or majority of the cases, and one study says that it's almost 70%, where the perpetrator was diagnosed with a mental disorder or psychiatric disorder, and it was 70% in cases that revolved around serial killer and sexual offenders. This actually, the statistic goes hand in hand with the repeat offenders, where researchers have been able to prove in certain situations that when given treatment, psychiatric treatment, whether it be medication, therapy, regimen programs, or anything like that, the rate of those individuals becoming repeat offenders decreased. And so the thought process came to mind is that if we have these opportunities and these resources that have proven to make a difference, why is it not being leveraged, or why is it not being used? And in essence, it kind of supports where society has the mentality that throwing someone behind bars and taking their rights away counts as legitimate therapy. When these individuals are put in this situation, can we honestly say that we're serving both sides justice? The studies have been done before, although they are very limited and very rare. The first study that popped up was in England and Dutch, so it was an international study. But this was the study that supported the claim that with treatment, the rate of repeat offenders can be decreased. And it was at most only 19%, but any amount of decrease would be something that should serve the community. The second study was on just like the mental well-being, the mental diagnosis, the treatment of offenders, serial killers, rapists, the infamous people, quote unquote, that plague history, whether it's nationally or worldwide. And this is just, that supports the claim that almost all of these individuals were molested as children, whether they be male or female, whether it be by family members, friends, or unknown people, assailants. Females being attacked before the puberty phase can begin, having parents that abused narcotics, the limited education, and sometimes it was the result of serving in the military. All of these are normal situations to an extent, but I think that most people would agree that if they see someone, a family member, or just a person, a friend, that has gone through one of these things, you want to help that person. You would want them to get help before things get out of hand. So why has society shunned these people? Or why has society kind of, quote unquote, given up on them? The research design that I have will be a mixed method approach that is using quantitative and qualitative research, because the idea is that you want to be able to provide statistical empirical data to support the claim that these events could be prevented and that these individuals are not receiving the necessary treatment. And the qualitative comes in because we need to understand why. This would support the idea that implementing the psychiatric treatment, regardless of either way it's interfaced with with the individuals, they will make a difference, whether it's preventing future crimes or preventing just the crimes in general. For the general wrap up of the study, which due to time I kind of tried to limit it down a little bit. The participants will be watched for approximately 36 months, 3 years from their initial acceptance date. This is because the study will not be limited by state. And as we have different states, their policies change, the laws are changed going from district to district. So the average amount of time for a sexual offender is in between 3 to 7 years. So we decided to do 36 months. That way the study can correlate between the states when comparing and contrasting data. The criteria or the things that will be analyzed during the study would be time currently served, the nature of offense, psychiatric disorder, the treatment, the management of the symptoms, and quote unquote the urges, client feedback, and professional analysis. The study itself will have licensed therapists, doctors, pharmacists working together to provide a diverse, a varied, and a proven, quote unquote, proven treatment for these individuals, and just monitoring how they're going about it. How is the change transitioning for them? Ethically, we speak on a lot of different issues, or we have to address a lot of different issues. I believe personally that the biggest barrier would be on a social standpoint, because you are looking at people who have committed criminal activity and to a higher level. So there are instances where victims of these people will not want, individuals to seek out treatment or to be provided treatment or to be out of jail, to be excused or anything. So socially, we would have to be able to explain the actions of the study, the needs of the study, why the study is important, not excusing, not allowing criminal activity to exist, not wanting to excuse it, not wanting to provide excuses for the victims. It's just understanding whether or not we as a community, we as a psychological community, we as people in general, as human beings, are actually serving both sides of the story. If these events could have been prevented, it wouldn't do justice to allow them to happen again, whether it's with the new individuals, whether it's with family members or unrelated parties altogether. The idea is to prevent this from happening again. And if we were to decrease activities, then maybe we can prevent them or know what to look for in other individuals to stop this from happening again. Other than the social ethics behind it, we do have some, I would say, legitimate ethic ethical issues that follow with any study, and that's just confidentiality, cherry picking with the participants from the prison system, prison infrastructure, participants attempting to manipulate the results of the studies, retaliation from victims' family or prison infrastructure, or influence from the research staff. Unfortunately, it would be impossible to cover all of the ethical issues or the fallacies that could come up with this study. Due to the nature of the study, it is attempting to predict things that will happen in the future. It is unfortunately dealing with a taboo subject, and it welcomes taboo press. But every step of the research, every technical component of it was meant to not only protect the interests of the victims and their families and to make sure they seek justice, but to also protect the perpetrator and the individual to ensure their safety from themselves and from others. To wrap it up, the study is focused on inmate safety and well-being, with a secondary focus on lowering the occurrences of repeat offenders. Mentioning again, it would be impossible to predict the future, but I believe that we have the skills necessary to where we can put the pieces of the puzzle together and assume, using knowledge and statistical data, what can occur and how we can stop it from occurring. The study, in essence, asks that you picture a world without the John Wayne Gacy's, the Ted Bundy's, the Timothy McVeigh's, the Charles Mansons, not viewing them as the infamous criminals that they are, or how society has made them, but as children that needed help and was shunned away from the help they needed. How many more times, or how many more opportunities can we think of within our own network circle where people kind of ignored, or they're not given the help they're needed, or there is stigma attached with their treatment, or they try to hide it, or they downplay it to where it's not as important as it is? Well, this is what happens to a lot of people, and then it gets out of control. And I believe that we should not have to go through the world, or have to go through as many tragedies as we have to, when we can prevent it to a certain degree. I would like to close by asking a question. Just picture how many more times the world will go through a tragedy after tragedy after tragedy when it could have been avoided. When tragedies are no longer a cry for help from people. When we don't stigmatize the psychiatric world, the psychiatric field, the things that they can accomplish, when people are not afraid to step out and seek treatment and get help, and then possibly, potentially, change the world. Again, I do apologize, we ran a little bit longer, but I attempted to cover the odds that the presentation needed, but I did attach notes, and there's a Word document as well where you can kind of read along without having to go through the length of the video. I thank you for your time and have a good day.